So this is crazy. 2 NFL players want the heck out of Dodge being disgruntled with their teams, and honestly, one of them is such an elite player that the trade demand he made today could actually cause massive dominoes to fall around the NFL. I'll get into some of my reasons why in today's video as I talk about that, the Bengals signing a new tight end, gotta also mention the Hall of Fame game, and much more right after. Alright, first up, we had football last night. Sorta, kinda, not really. I'll talk about it later because it was a preseason game, and the big news of the day is that not one, but 2 star players have become more and more disgruntled with their teams in the last few days, and it could even result in them being traded. Maybe. The first guy I want to talk about is Commanders wideout Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry himself. Yesterday, Jordan Schultz broke the news that he has officially requested a trade out of Washington. McLaurin finally reported to camp on Sunday, but has been holding in and actually was placed on the PUP list with an apparent ankle injury that would probably heal up if he was traded or extended. Anyway, this recent trade request is quite the development here. It could just be a negotiation tactic from Terry to put a little more pressure on the Commanders' front office. For example, we saw Myles Garrett request a trade earlier this offseason. Then not too long after that, he signed a $160 million extension. I doubt he actually wants out of there considering they just made the NFC Championship. Scary Terry just wants paid what he believes he's worth. He's been a pillar for Washington since coming into the league, going over 1,000 yards 5 out of the last 6 years, already tying the franchise record for most 1,000-yard seasons by a receiver. Keep in mind that he's done all that with these guys throwing in the football, and we saw what happened last year when he actually had a quality starter slinging in the pigskin. He had a career-high 13 touchdowns. And crazy enough, but 2024 was the first time Terry has seen the Commanders finish with a winning record. They made the playoffs in 2020 as a 7-win team thanks to the NFC East being a joke that year. Then they went 8-1 in 2022, but last year, Jaden Daniels took the league by storm as a rookie, and they wound up winning 12 games and punched their ticket to the NFC Championship. Terry was a big part of that, and both sides know that. I think the front office wants him back. After all, are you really going to trade away your star quarterback's #1 target? Sure, they do have Deebo Samuel, but the combo of both Scary Terry and Deebo is the ideal situation here. The problem is, last week, Adam Schefter reported that Terry wants, quote, considerably more than DK Metcalf's $33.5 million per year. DK is currently the 4th highest paid receiver in terms of average annual salary, so basically Terry wants to be among the top 4 or 5 highest paid guys at the position. Is he crazy for wanting that? Given his production, I would say no, but the Commanders aren't crazy for not wanting to give him that due to him turning 30 years old in September. The only wide receiver over 30 years old that's making $30 million or more a year right now is Tyreek Hill, and he was coming off back-to-back 1,700-yard seasons before he agreed to that new restructure. His numbers are comparable to DK, and they were actually in the same draft class, 2019, but Terry is 2 years older than him, and that's really what all this comes down to. So where do things go from here? The options are obviously compromising on some kind of a contract, granting Terry's request for a trade, or making him play out the final year of his deal and allowing him to hit free agency in 2026. They could then franchise tag him, though he probably would be pissed. I've been thinking for months now a deal ultimately does get done here, especially with Jaden Daniels playing on a rookie deal, but ultimately the Commanders are in control here. They don't have to trade him, and while Terry is underpaid right now based on his production, is he really going to sit out the year if the Commanders refuse to trade him or pay him? I seriously doubt it. But let's see what happens here. In a perfect world, I think both sides compromise a bit and a 3-year extension gets worked out with an out for Washington after 2 of those. Now, the other player in a contract dispute is actually in the same division, and I'm of course talking about the star pass rusher Micah Parsons. Things took a turn for the worse today when Diana Russini of The Athletic reported that Parsons and the Cowboys' relationship has deteriorated to the point where Micah is considering drastic measures, including a potential trade request, or he could even make a declaration that he is severing his relationship with the team. Well, that was this morning, but later in the day, Micah did officially request a trade, which I'll get to here in a moment. But first, here's how things got to this point. It really goes back to last year when they failed to get a deal done with him in the offseason prior to the 2025 season. But okay, they wanted to focus on getting Dak and CeeDee Lamb extended first. So then this past spring, Parsons and Jerry Jones spoke directly about a deal in some capacity over multiple days. Jerry and the team thought they had a deal in place, but Micah believed they were merely conversations, a starting point if you will, and that his agent would then handle the serious aspects of those negotiations. But when Micah's agent attempted to kickstart those talks, the Cowboys refused to engage with him and told Parsons that they believed they already had a deal in place. If you remember, back in April, Jerry even disrespected the agent publicly, saying he doesn't know who he is, but his agent is David Mulugeta, one of the most respected agents in the league that had already worked with Jerry in the past with several other players on the Cowboys roster. So that was silly, but it's now been 4 months since those comments were made, and the relationship between Jerry and Micah's agent doesn't appear to have improved. Russini said that even now, the team is refusing to engage with him at all, talking about the agent, which is creating a, quote, tense standoff amid increasing friction. What a phrase. And to make matters worse, Jerry even recently criticized Micah Parsons and his injury history when talking contract negotiations, but Micah missed 1 game his rookie year due to COVID, then didn't miss another game until last year when he missed 4 games with an ankle injury, but really did fight through it. That all brings us to today, when Micah dropped a bomb on social media, a very long post where he ultimately requested a trade. The summarized version of all this goes as follows. Micah said he's been trying to get a deal done since the last offseason. When that didn't happen, he focused on the 2024 season, but once it ended, he wanted to get a deal done as soon as possible. His agent even told him to wait for other guys to sign so his price would continue to rise, but Micah just wanted to get it done. He didn't care about leaving some money on the table. He then confirmed those reports from Diana Russini about him speaking with Jerry Jones directly and then the team basically ghosting his agent. Parsons went on to say that even up to today, not a single email or text has been sent to his agent in attempts to iron out a deal. He also addressed Jerry Jones's recent comments he made about Micah's injury from last year, saying, "I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates." And he ended his statement saying this, "I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I have made a tough decision that I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally." Well, that is certainly something. The thing is, how often do we see a team actually trade away a star pass rusher like this in their prime? You'd have to go back to 2018 when the Raiders sent, at the time, 27-year-old Kahlil Mack to the Bears for 2 first-round picks and some other later-round pick swaps on September 1st, cutdown day. Then they immediately signed him to a 6-year, $140 million contract, which at the time was a record for a defensive player. So I guess it could happen. It's just very rare, especially after the draft. My guess is, in order for a trade to even happen, said team that wants to trade for Micah would have to send a pass rusher over in exchange for him and multiple draft picks, and then extend him and make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. Regardless, Dallas reportedly has no intention of trading Micah, though teams around the league are planning to reach out and check on his availability today. I mean, shoot, if I'm a GM, I'm picking up the phone and dialing the Cowboys number. A star pass rusher in their prime wanting out, sign me up. Here's my checkbook. It's also a blank check. Have fun. Again, that's probably not happening, and the Cowboys, I'm sure, are going to do all they can to keep Micah around. You could extend him, try to work something out, or even play hardball. At the end of the day, they don't have to extend him and could just franchise tag him next year. Is that doing right by Micah? No, but the team holds the cards, sadly. And for what it's worth, Micah reportedly does not plan on leaving Cowboys training camp despite his frustrations with the front office. That way he doesn't get fined $50,000 for every practice he misses. With all that being said, what do you guys think is going to happen here between Micah and the Dallas Cowboys? Do you think he's actually going to get traded? Or if you had to put money on it, what do you think happens by the start of this season? Next up, after visiting with several teams, tight end Noah Fant finally decided where he's playing this year. The former Bronco and Seahawk is heading to Cincinnati on a 1-year deal, adding to what is already a stacked offense. Aside from it being a 1-year deal, the rest of the details on the contract aren't known at this point, though I imagine it is pretty team friendly, maybe some incentives built in there. If he hits certain milestones, he could get even more than that. Fant will likely be a 4th or 5th option in the pecking order, which is why I'm a little surprised you would sign with the Bengals, because he's got to work in behind guys like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Mike Gesicki, and maybe even Andre Iosivas. With that being said, it is a great get for the Bengals. He'll be one of the better number 2 tight ends in the league, and should Gesicki miss time with injury, Fant can step in and give them quality production for sure. And then a quick training camp injury note. Jets defensive tackle Quinnen Williams didn't practice today after straining his calf during drills yesterday. The good news is Aaron Glenn said he should only be sidelined for 1, maybe 2 weeks, which would have him back for the last week or so of training camp. They called it a precautionary move, keeping him out of practice, so I think they're going to take it slow with him because why risk it? Now look at this though. His brother Quincy Williams is not taking it slow. He was seen out there on the field whipping around in a go-kart yesterday. I thought this was AI, but I guess it's real, albeit pretty freaking random. Moving on though, veteran wideout Keenan Allen visited with his former team in the Chargers today. LA traded him to the Bears last offseason, and at the age of 32, he still hauled in 70 passes for over 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. The Chargers are looking to stabilize their receiving core a bit after Mike Williams retired, and Quentin Johnston, their first-round pick in 2023, hasn't panned out in the way they had hoped. Took a step up last year, but we'll see. The book isn't closed on his career by any means, but Keenan would provide Herbert with another reliable target outside of Ladd McConkey, and Ladd is somebody to keep eyes on because he didn't practice earlier this week as he's working through a minor undisclosed injury. The Harbaughs always downplay injuries though, so it's hard to really know what to take away from that. But as far as the rest of the Chargers receivers go, they added a couple in the draft, taking Trey Harris in the 2nd round and then Keandre Lambert-Smith later in the 5th. So they've got some young guys they're excited about, but it never hurts to add quality veteran depth, especially when it's a guy like Keenan, who has plenty of experience with Justin Herbert already. But hey, speaking of young guys like Lambert-Smith, he was actually the Chargers' leading receiver in the Hall of Fame game that took place last night against the Detroit Lions. He caught 2 passes for 45 yards. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lions wideout Isaac Tesla almost mirrored that, catching 2 passes for 46 yards. And look, it's a preseason game, so I'm not going in depth on this one. There's not much to take away overall from this 34-7 bloodbath. Trey Lance went 13 of 20 for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game that featured 4 turnovers and a doinked field goal by Dicker the kicker himself. That's going to do it for me. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and with that, I'll see y'all next time.